ऐश्वर्य फलप्रदाय नमः। ओम सॉरी क्षीरोपहार रसिकाय नमः। ओम क्षिप्राश्वर्य फलप्रदाय नमः। ओम नानाभरण मुग्धांगाय नमः। ओम नारी सम्मोहना कृतये नमः। ओम नागब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः। ओम नागभूषण भूषिताय नमः। ओम मूर्ति निंदित कंदर्पाय नमः। ओम मूर्तामूर्त जगत वपुषे नमः। ओम मूला ज्ञान तमोभानवे नमः। ओम मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः। ओम तरुणादित्य संकाशाय नमः। ओम तंत्रीवादन तत्पराय नमः। ओम तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः। ओम तप्तजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः। ओम तप्तपुस्तोल सत्पाणये नमः। ओम तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः। ओम यमसंयुवसत्कीर्तये नमः। ओम यमसंयुमसंयुताय नमः। ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः। ओम यतीन्द्रोपास विग्रहाय नमः। ओम मंदारहार रुचिराय नमः। ओम मंदस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः। ओम मधुराधर पल्लवाय नमः। ओम मंजीर मंजुपादाब्जाय नमः। ओम मणिपट्टोलसत्कटये नमः। ओम हस्तांकुरितचलमुद्राय नमः। ओम हठयोग परोत्तमाय नमः। ओम हंसजक्षमालाढ्याय नमः। ओम हंसेद्वाराधिपादुकाय नमः। ओम मेरुशृंगतटोलासाय नमः। ओम मेघश्याम मनोहराय नमः। ओम मेधांकुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः। ओम मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः। ओम धार्मिक अंतर्गुहासाय नमः। ओम धामत्रय निजारामाय नमः। ओम धर्मोत्तम मनोरथाय नमः। ओम प्रबोधोद्गार दीपश्रिये नमः। ओम प्रकाशित जगत्याय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञाचंद्रशिलाचंद्राय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः। ओम ज्ञानांतर्भासात्मने नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञादिविदूरगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैत दिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञातगातिकुलागताय नमः। ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रणतार्थब्धिवाढवाय नमः। ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः। ओम प्रपंचहितकारकाय नमः। ओम यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः। ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः। ओम यज्ञाद्देवतामूर्तये नमः। ओम यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः। ओम छत्राधिपति विश्वेश्वाय नमः। ओम छत्रसाम्यरसेविताय नमः। ओम छंदशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः। ओम चलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः। ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः। ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोदये नमः। ओम स्वराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः। ओम स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः। ओम हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः। ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः। ओम हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः। ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम श्रीमत्परमहंसपरिव्राजकाचार्य श्री दयानंद सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। record the meditation also. Okay, now we're ready. Pratarस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयं यत्स्वप्नजागर सुषुप्तिमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। निदिध्यासनम the Vedantic, so-called Vedantic meditation is all about appreciation. The very popular term self-realization should be understood as appreciation. We may have a casual understanding of something, but the English word appreciation captures the essence of nididhyasanam quite well. When we say, I appreciate what you have done for me, as an example, it accurately depicts the sense that I fully grasp the value of what you have provided me. As an example, my thanks are not superficial, but is endowed with a full understanding of the value and the importance of what you may have done for me. In nididhyasanam, the word appreciation should be kept in mind. We may have an introduction to our nature, and we often talk about the identity between the Jiva and Ishvara, Jiveshvara Aikyam. But it is not until we appreciate what it means to me will nididhyasanam be effective. So nididhyasanam is all about focusing on the appreciation of something. So let us take one aspect of Brahman, Ishvara, in order to appreciate it. Let us focus on just one aspect, which is Swatasiddhatvam. Swatasiddha means self-existence. We know the meaning of something which exists. We know when a thing does not exist. We know when a thing is present. So the concept of existence versus non-existence is familiar to us. But here, we need to appreciate what self-existence means. Swatasiddhatvam. So when we say that Jiva and Ishvara, or you can say Jivatma and Paramatma are the same, the essence of this identity, not similarity but identity, one in the sameness, should be seen in terms of self-existence. I meditate upon the appreciation of myself which is the self of Ishvara, Brahman, as self-existing. Self-existence means non-dependence. In all other forms of existence, I should appreciate the sense of dependence. There is nothing in the whole creation which exists without dependence. Things are made up of something. Whatever they are made up of is what they depend upon. If the underlying substance deteriorates, then the existence of anything is in jeopardy. And there is nothing in the whole cosmos, the entire Srishti, which is not like that. Everything is deteriorating. Some very slowly, like a mountain, some fast, but there is nothing in the whole creation which is not deteriorating, changing, collapsing. So our normal existence, our normal understanding of existence should be seen as a dependent existence. Except for myself. And in this understanding, this appreciation, it may be better to not make the jump that I am self-existent. We should do that in some steps. 2 steps. If I meditate upon the fact, the truth, that I am self-existing, then the powerful objection of my mind interrupts my thinking. How can I be self-existent? I am just this body which is deteriorating. So this counter argument of my mind, which is also supported by my experience, interrupts my appreciation that I am self-existing. It may be better to take an intermediate step. And that intermediate step is Ishvara, Brahman, both Brahman and Nirguna Ishwar, which is Brahman, one and the same, is self-existing. In taking this step, you avoid facing your powerful mind that prevents your progress. It may be easier for us to grasp the sheer enormity the sheer amazingness of self-existence as belonging to Brahman. There, my mind needs to be and is naturally more subdued because it doesn't know Brahman. There, your buddhi, your wisdom, your appreciation of grasping the truth is more powerful. So we suggest that we first meditate upon what self-existence really means, what it implies. Imagine something which is independent. It is independent because it is not made up of anything. Everything else is made up of it. Everything else is made up of Brahman. It is the ultimate substance, the vastu. The entire cosmos which is deteriorating as we saw earlier, is reducible. So my shirt is reducible to threads. Threads are reducible to cotton. Cotton is reducible to cotton molecules. The cotton molecules are reducible to the atomic structure. And the atomic structure is reducible to its elements. The elements are reducible ultimately. Everything in the creation is reducible into Brahman. I should appreciate that the whole creation cannot be further reduced. If the Brahman itself is further reduced, dependent on something else, what is that substance? If that also is reducible, it will be nothingness. The entire cosmos is nothing like nothingness. The entire cosmos the basic substance of the entire cosmos is isness. Brahman is pure existence, self-existence. It doesn't need to depend on anything. It doesn't need any food to nourish it. It does not deteriorate. It is not dependent on time. There is no need to have a form. It is the content of all forms. This is the enormity the amazingness of self-existence. Swatasiddhatvam. And that cannot be different from me. I am self-existent. There is nothing separate from Ishvara. If Brahman is the very substance of the whole creation, which it is, then it must be me also. So Nididhyasanam is the science and the art of appreciation. It is not just ordinary meditation, not dhyanam, but it is consisting of an appreciation. So in this case, I just take up one aspect of the creation, Swatasiddhatvam, and I meditate upon it. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakatau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarasvandakaro Vai Rukarastanivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Gururithya Vidhiyate Sadashivasamanabham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let's do the following. Let us chant the Karika verses 22 and 23 first. Trishu Dhamasu Yatulyam, and then number 23, which we will take up today. And then after that, let us chant two verses from the Upanishad itself. So one verse would be number 7, na antah pragyam na bahish pragyam. And then after that we will chant number 12, which is the last one, which we will take up today. There is a reason that I want to just do 7 and 12. We will see that later on. But let us start with chanting the Karika verses 23 and 20 and 22 and 23. So number 22. Trishu dhamasu yatulyam samanyam veti nishchitaha sapujyah sarvabhutanam vandyaschaiva mahamunihi akaro nayate vishwam ukaraschapi taijasam makarascha punah pragyam na matre vidyate gatihi. Now back to the Upanishad, number 7. Na antah pragyam na bahish pragyam no bhayatah pragyam na pragyanaganam na pragyam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam apyapadeshyam ekatma pratyyasaram prapanchopashamam shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vigyeyah. Now verse number 12. Amatras chaturtho vyavaharyah prapancho upashamaha shivodvaita evam omkara atmaiva samvishati atmana atmanam ya evam veda. So the discussion about Omkara, Om, should be seen in terms of what do I get out of it? You know, our thinking in the whole life in our living is of anything. What do I get out of it? Anything that we do, we always had this drishti. And it should have that drishti. It's a natural one. Ichha Shakti, which Ishvara has given, means what do I get out of it? So here also, in studying the Upanishad, in understanding Om, one should always have and you have it, it's not as though you should have it, you have it, what do I get out of it? But it should be kept in mind. And so the Upanishad, the very teaching of Ishvara, the Upanishads is nothing but the teaching of Dakshinamurti, that's all it is given to you so that you get something out of it. And so that's really what we need to see is, so if I understand Om, what do I get out of it? So there, as we saw, just a very quick revision, that in any pratima or pratika, there are two aspects of it. So pratima also and pratika also. Pratima we are more familiar with, which is the form of anything that we worship. So the introduction of the form is an important one because you focus your mind on the pratima. But then that is just an introduction. You need to have an appreciation of what is the content of that pratima. And the more appreciation you have about the content of the pratima, the better off you will be. And then the puja of the pratima becomes very effective. So we saw the example of this, that if you see the pratima of Krishna or Vishnu as an example, that has the chakram, Sudarshana chakram. So it is an important aspect of that, or a flute, the different aspects of that. So at first you simply, you just enjoy the form. Vaktratundaha. Vaktratundaha means you have the body which is not straight, which is in form of 3 or 4 bends. Vaktratundaha. Or in the case of Ganesha also, Vaktratundaha. And so these are all introductions to the pratima. But as we saw in this example, I won't go through in that, if you see that the whole creation is in the form of chakram. And really, I think the most beautiful thing, I remember Swami Dayanand used to say that when he first introduced it, I was just listening to him, but now I've really appreciated over time. What he used to say was that in his thinking, the beauty of the cosmos, the enormity of the cosmos, was not as impressive to him from a macroscopic standpoint as it is from a microcosmic standpoint. And what he meant to say was that it is an amazing creation of Ishvara, where straight lines and solidity of things and so on are made up of circles. Really speaking, I mean, if you just look at any substance, what you find is it is made up of electrons that are rotating. Amazing. The whole thing is in the form of chakra. And we saw the example of how the water rises from the city, or from the ocean, and then finally comes back to it. And same thing in terms of recycling the human beings. We come out of the earth and we go back to the earth. Chakra. So anyway, what it means was that the more we appreciate the very content of the pratima, the better off we will be. And that's the real wisdom. And the same thing goes for pratika. So the pratika means a word symbol. Pratima means a form symbol. But pratika means a word symbol. So now we come to the Om. And first we must understand the constituents of Om. And we have done that. The constituents of the Om are. So because, again, worth repeating, that the Om as a symbol of Ishvara is the best sound that represents the completeness and the enormity of Ishvara. It's not some arbitrary symbol. You can do anything without criticizing anyone, just, any one thing, Allah or whatever it is. You can do that. That's fine for you to put your faith in. But if you were to have a name which is appropriate, it's so funny. One of the people that we know has a friend from New York. He's a fact. He's an enormous guy. He is over 250 pounds, huge person, enormous personality. You know what his name is? Mouse. I have no idea how his name was. I'm afraid to ask him, actually. He'll hit me if I ask him. So we just accepted. Hi, Mouse. Not an appropriate name for a human being. But you can do it if you want to. This is the beauty of what you can do, anything you want to. So, Om is an appropriate name for Ishvara. Why? And that really starts to direct our appreciation. Our appreciation of the completeness of Ishvara should be done in this way, that we should understand each of the elements of that, which is, as you know, A, U, and Ma, and why A? Because it represents. So if you look at your own life, it consists of three basic elements, three different dhamas, three different places. And so so the Jagrat Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, and Swapna Avastha. So there is a symbol representing each one of them. And so this is the introduction to the elements of Om. Then, this is just so Pratika is different from a Pratima, because in Pratima, you can take your child and you just say, in fact, if you go to our Dakshinamurti Vigraha in the ashram, and Swamiji was so fond of it. I remember when we first made it, then the door was made and it was opened and so on. And then this Vigraha came from India. I still remember first time it was introduced. And Swamiji is very fond of explaining all the aspects of the Vigraha. That this represents the Chandrama, this represents the Surya, this represents the etc. So there are seven of different things. And then I still remember, this is he says the eighth one, the last one, is you, the Atma. So a Dakshinamurti is not complete until it includes you, the awareness. In fact, everything else is superfluous. But when we look at the Vigraha, we don't think of, in fact, we look at it as a separate one from me. But in fact, the very content of the Vigraha is the Atma, which is you. Anyway, so we did all of that. So what I was saying was that when you introduce a Vigraha to a Pratima to a child, you simply look at the form and say, notice this, notice that. Notice how the flute is held. Notice this and so on. And the child says, yes, I appreciate it. That is just the beginning. Then you understand the meaning of each one of them. So in the case of a Pratima, it is relatively easy. In the case of Pratika, then it gets a little harder because there is no form that you can put your eyes on. But you still have to enunciate it. Om. And now you have to see why is it making noise? And then you see the meaning of it. So we saw the meaning of it was in the Om. So now in the last 2 or 3 Karika verses, the meaning was brought out. So in the number 23, which is the one that we are taking up today, so let's look at the summary of the meanings. So just a summary, we have already done all of this. So akaraha nayate vishwam. Akaraha nayate vishwam means that the first thing you should do if you wanted to understand the significance of Om is to break it down into its constituents. And you start with A. What it means is that you start with your waking experience and you appreciate the waking experience. So, in the discussion of this, there is a doubt, a purva paksha. And the doubt says, wait a second. Akaraha nayate vishwam. Vishwa is the name of myself as a waking person. You know, we have 3 names, right? We have 3 names. One is the waking person with all of its constituents, the name, the form, history, etc., relationships. This is the waking person. It's called Vishwam. Then you have Taijasam. Taijasam is a dreaming person. And the dreaming person is not the same as the waking person because the personality is completely different. Completely different. If you are a rich person while you are awake, you could be a very poor person while you are dreaming. You could be a very unhappy. And the normal example is that you've had a nice meal and sometimes you have a fast and the fast really enhances your hunger and so on and so forth. But you do fasting for Ekadashi or something. And we have this Karwa Chauth in the north where the women keep it for their husbands. And so you are hungry the whole day. But then in the evening, you're waiting for this moon to come up. And the funny part is the moon is sometimes hidden by clouds. And so you're saying, oh my gosh. Then you ask somebody else, have you seen it someplace else? Then you can do it. Anyway, the point is that you're very hungry and you really want food. And then you have a nice feast at the end of that. Now when you go to sleep, that hunger still affects you. So you feel you had a good meal while you were awake, but in the dream you are still hungry. So the point is you are a completely different person as a dreamer than you are as a waker. And the same thing on when you're sleeping. The sleeping is a very interesting thing because everybody becomes the same. This is an important thing as when you say makarascha punaha pragyam. We'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, going back to it, there is an objection. There is a purva paksha. What is the purva paksha? It says akaraha nayate vishwam. That after thinking about akara, etc., it leads you to become a Jagrata Avastha person. So he says, what is this? You've been teaching me about akara and om and so on and so forth, and you brought me to the same situation that I was even before. So what is the big deal that you've done? So here, this is where the commentaries have come in and so on and so forth. really it is not Vishwam that it leads you to. It should lead you to Vaishwanara. Means that is not the individual, but the form of the individual, the source of the individual. What it means is, in short, it should not be just a casual understanding that everybody's Sakshi is the same. Not just, you can, this is what happens. It's typically what happens, especially from India. They all say, Bhagwan to sab mein hai. Ishvara is in all of them, and is in everybody. But that is just for saying something. Your behavior is completely different. Very different. It's just for Bhagwan to sab mein hai. But then you say, why did you do this? And you were supposed to do this, and I hate you, and this, all the normal things, and so on and so forth. So really speaking, when you say Akaraho Nayate Vishwam, means you have to see the presence of Ishvara in everything. Because we saw that the sentient, there is only one source of sentience, only one source. One Swatasiddhatvam, not multiple ones, only one. And so what it really means is that we should attempt, with varying success, but we should attempt to see that the whole thing is nothing but an expression of Ishvara. Exactly like a wave of the ocean is asked to see. See all other waves as nothing but the water. And it's not difficult. You start on it. And if your mind protests, says, be quiet. I'm trying to understand something better. And slowly your behavior will soften. You will begin to see that the variety, there is no problem. But the problem comes in if you have a non-understanding of who you really are. And people's behavior upsets you unnecessarily. And so to really see the beauty of it, you can complain to Ishvara and say, why did you do this? I had a funny experience just the other day. This is an amazing thing. It's still, so I had a lot of mail that had been piled up. And there was this, I was getting some checks from this company, and for the last 3 or 4 months, even more than that, I should have really cashed it, but it was not a big amount, so I kept it separately. And finally I opened all the envelopes, put all the checks together, and about 3 or 4 checks in front of me. And then I went to do something else. I said, I'll deposit it. Do you know, I don't know where those checks went. I have no idea. I have looked through everything. I think it got thrown away, and I think I can retrieve it. There may be a stopping of the... But it was interesting. I'm just telling you about my own... I think some time ago, I would be very upset with myself. Why did you do this? Why can't you take care of it? If I'm not upset, then my family will be upset. My spouse will be upset. Because if my wife doesn't know this, by the way, you are the only people. If she knew that, she would say, that's just you. I'm telling you, you keep doing this. They never miss a chance to drive it home. So I would be very upset. But I see the presence of Ishvara. And I've been saying, why are you doing this to me? Where is it? Where are the checks? Only for the last 4 or 5 days, honestly. So I can see the palpable presence of Ishvara. He's winking, without really winking. And most probably I'm now ready to give up. I think next week or so I'm going to write to them and say, I'm very sorry, I've lost all of your 4 checks. Can you please reissue it, and I'll be happy to give you the... So I'm ready to do that. But the reaction is a lot softer than what it would have been before that, honestly. It changes you. Similarly, when I see people and I talk to them and so on and so forth, there is a smile behind my behavior. Wow, what an interesting person. How different that person is from me. I wouldn't have done that, but it's fine. This is the way people are. So this is the meaning. So this comes from Vaishwanaraha, not Vishwa. And in this, one other thing to always keep in mind is that we are, the Vishwa is not a part of Vaishwanaraha, Virat, the entire cosmos. It is not a part. This should be understood very well. Why is it not a part? Because that means that the whole will be made out of parts. If you take something out, the whole will be less. It's not like that. Then it is an aspect of Vaishwanaraha. Just like a wave of the ocean is not a part of the ocean. It is just one way of looking at the ocean. From the standpoint of a single individual, the ocean is called a wave. But it is the same water. In fact, from the standpoint of a wave, you can see that I am the whole ocean. And so, Vaishwanaraha and Vishwa, so you can see that really it is not, you're not just a... So the reason I'm saying that you are not a part, the question is, why am I saying it? The reason I'm saying it is because a sense of isolation, a sense of separation is unwarranted. It's unwarranted. It's not true. It is just your wrong understanding, that's all. So anyway, to summarize, Akaraho Nayate Vishwam. In fact, it should be replaced by Vaishwanaram. And so means that thinking of your Jagrat Avastha, the way to lead a Jagrat Avastha is to see the enormity of Ishvara everywhere. And so from that standpoint, even if you were to look at strange behaviors from people, let's look at Trump. That's a good example. Really, I think Ishvara has given us Trump for a very interesting reason. Really. Because if you can have, and says, how can anybody be like that? This is stupidity. But now you say, Ishvara, you are such a clever person, I have no idea how you did this. Made such a person as the very leader of this. He's changing the whole culture of the country where truth has been completely, you alone can do this. And then you can say, just make sure that he doesn't last for too long. So there you bring Ishvara into the whole picture. Really, because it is the truth. It's not as though you are making not a make-believe or anything like this. So the whole attitude towards Trump and others will be, how interesting. it is much less than, oh my God, which is what we normally do. But it's really, I tell you, I think that the ultimate attitude towards akara would be how interesting. Very different from all of this. So anyway, this is the first advice that is given, that in the analysis of the Om, your appreciation of the akara should be to look at the behavior of people, look at the form of people, and so on, and to begin to see that there is some unifying factor behind all that. It's not all different. Just like you see the other waves of the ocean, the unifying factor of that you have to appreciate, and then you have a completely different view of things. So this is the akara. Then going on to, because I'm really, my gosh, already 9:10. Ukaras chapin taijasam. And so here, in the dream avastha, and actually it is not just the dream avastha, it means the content of the dream, which is thinking, thoughts. So, as we have already studied, the Taijasa is not just in the dream avastha. In fact, it is the software of the everything, including Jagrata avastha. So you see, that's the thing. So, when supposing you find a person of a different color and a different ethnicity, that is a form. But if you look at people's thinking, how they behave, like the Trump example we were saying, it's not by, we don't have anything but what he looks like, although he's a funny looking guy, but it is his thinking. So really his thinking is the Taijasam, Hiranyagarbha. So the same similarity that you see between Virat and Vishwa, you begin to see Taijasa and Hiranyagarbha. That really the software is all the same. And the software is it's a very beautiful thing, as we have seen that before, that really when the mother becomes, when a woman becomes a mother, the love of the child is not invented by this particular woman. It is given by Hiranyagarbha already. So the Taijasa is also not a portion of Hiranyagarbha, it is an aspect of Hiranyagarbha. The same thing on, so Ukaraschapi Taijasa. Then Makarascha Punaha Pragyam. So here, as I said earlier also, this is a very beautiful thing, that there you have to imagine, in the case of Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha, you at least have to imagine that we are all the same. You have to force yourself a little bit. You have to at least begin pretend in the beginning before you do. In deep sleep, none of that is necessary. Because in deep sleep, it is really the reality, and you should know this. I mean, everybody does know this, and we should, if not, we should. That everybody becomes the same. See, so it's a natural thing. It's an amazing thing, really, honestly. That, when we say that we are all different, and people say that, that person is, this is another thing, we feel somehow that, where was it when I remember when I first came to this country, they said that in America there used to be a saying, How he's not that smart? Because he's not rich. Because smartness and richness are all should be. If you're not smart enough, then that means that if you're not rich, that means you're not smart. Anyway, the point is that you and I have a certain happiness, and let's say Bill Gates or this Amazon guy, they have billions of dollars, and their happiness during the day compared to your and my happiness may be questionable, very possible. In deep sleep, everybody is the same. And so, makarascha punaha pragyam. So there, so look at the beauty of Ishvara, that for 1/3 of the day, everyone becomes the same. Now that means their perceived differences are withdrawn, not becomes the same, they are reduced to the sameness. With one exception, and that is that they don't know they are the same. So the avidya is the one that is still there. And so that is the seed. When you wake up again, you become naturally different again. Even though you are naturally the same, but you don't know you're naturally the same. So anyway, so here the last thing is that there is an order in your approach towards the appreciation of Om. There should be an order. The order is concentrate on your behavior while you are awake. But even while you are awake, see that the thoughts of people have the same origin. And then see, the third one is that in order to supplement your understanding that we are all the same, in order to supplement that understanding, see that for 1/3 of the day we are all exactly the same. This is the order that one should see there. Anyway, so this is the end of the understanding of the elements of Omkara, A, U and Makara. Then we are now ready to go to Turiya. So here Swami Maheshananji made a very beautiful point. I had never really understood that until I read his. And this is the reason that we saw both number 7 and number 12. Why? Because in both number 7 and number 12, which is now the description of Turiya, the avyavaharyam, and in this case avyavahara, and then also Shiva, and also Advaita is the same. So the question is, why is it the same? Did Ishvara forget to? He says, oh, I composed number 7 last month, and now I had number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, and I forgot I did this. Now let me do it again. No. So here the understanding is that in number 7 it was Jnanam, and in number 12 it is Vijnanam. Vijnanam means Bhava is introduced. Bhava means now a complete understanding, including the very love of it. Like, for example, what we saw in the meditation, that you start with Swatasiddhatvam as a jnanam. But when you appreciate the enormity of Swatasiddhatvam, that becomes your vijnana. My God, I cannot believe that I am self-existent. So this second version of the Turiya, number 12, has to do with bhava, as we will see. This should be kept in mind, as we will see that in a minute. So now, let's see, why did I made a note to myself to see page 455. This one. Yeah, okay. So now the last quarter of number 23, na amatre vidyate gatihi. Na amatre vidyate gatihi. What it means is that the first 3 quarters of Om, there is a gatihi. In the last quarter, there is no gatihi. Gatihi means a movement, a progression. So in the case of the first 3 quarters of, there is a movement, there is a progression. So for example, if you behave like a normal person, which is individual and not concerned about and so on and so forth, and from there you begin to see the similarity of things, and you see Ishvara. There is a gatihi, there is a progression. Similarly, in the case of makaraha, in the case of ukaraha, there is a gatihi. Because the more you understand, the more you change as a person. In Turiya, there is no gatihi. Why there is no gatihi, which should be also easily understood? Because you were always Turiya, you just didn't know it. You've always been Swatasiddha. It's not as though you became Swatasiddha. You've always been that way. This is the nature of truth. Never changes. You've always been there. There is no gatihi. And once you understand the Turiya, also there will be no change after that. But the only thing is that until we understand, we think there is a gati. So for example, if you look at a car moving, the car space has a gati. The space within the car has a movement. But really speaking, once you understood that the space is not separate from the space, there is no gati. It is the same space. It's not as though it cannot move anywhere. There's no space where space is not there. Similarly is the Atma, the Turiya. So, amatre na amatre vidyate gatihi. So matra means, which we will see also in number 12. In fact, I tell you, I'll just reduce. I'll wait for discussion of matra and amatra. We've done that before, but just as a summary, until we go to number 12. So I think that's all I wanted to say about 23. Let's go in the remaining time into 12 as much as possible. So now we say amatraha chaturthaha. Chaturthaha means turiya is the same. In Sanskrit, same word turiya means the fourth one. Fourth one means, as you know, that is not. In fact, amatra and chaturtha are exactly defining each other. Chaturtha, the fourth one, is not a separate quarter, it is the whole thing. So matraha means, in English, would be called a measure. Measure, M-E-A-S-U-R-E, measure. When you measure something, it is matra. So even if you have an enormous thing, supposing you have, the story about, the famous story in Panchatantra where there was a bird that had laid some eggs on the side of an ocean, and the ocean, of course, when it swells, it creates some flooding, and so when the bird came back, she found her eggs were swallowed by the ocean. She was so angry at the ocean that I'm going to dry you out by taking, so she started doing it. She'll take a drop of the ocean and put it away. So then she'll come back and put it away. So this is called matra. She measured the ocean in terms of drops. So the ocean, even though it is enormous, is measurable. We also know it. We know exactly what it is. But water by itself is immeasurable. Anything has water in it. Even in the air there is moisture. There is water. So the water is immeasurable. So the Atma is immeasurable. It is not something that you can split up and, like a bird that is taking the drops of the ocean. You cannot do that. You cannot define it exactly. In fact, you can define it exactly as a matra. This is the very content of everything. In fact, I shouldn't say that you cannot decide. In fact, this is the only thing that can be defined very precisely. Everything else you cannot define, as we will discuss with the very Maya Shakti, Anirvachyam. But the Atma is not measurable in the sense that we normally see that it's, where is it? How big is it? What are the limits of it? Limitless. Enormity. And so, amatraha chaturthaha. Then avyavaharya. And we've already discussed that the avyavaharyam was in number 7. So in number 7, it was just the introduction. With number 12, if we follow the progression of the karikas and so on and so forth, this becomes, hopefully, we become more appreciative of avyavaharyam. And so this is an important thing to see. What do you mean by avyavaharyam? Avyavaharyam means, so vyavahara means a transaction. That's a good translation of vyavahara. Means a transaction. So the necessary element of a vyavahara is that you give up something that you already have, or you grasp something that you don't have. This is not possible with the Atma. There's another concept of that you can meditate on, just like we say Swadasiddhatvam. You can meditate on avyavaharya. How? Because, just like space, you can do transaction of limitedness of space. You can tear down a smaller house that is being done all over the place and build a bigger home. Vyavahara. You have to take city permission, which can be done. All over, people are digging into the ground so that they have some storage, and then they have it happens in India now. In Defense Colony where my parents live, there used to be a nice little single family home and so on and so forth with one garage, and now they're allowing people to build a one-story garage and then 3 stories above it with 2 or 3 ones. My mother was telling me one time, she says there was this house that was being built, and so when it was all over, there was a huge party and everybody came, and there were so many cars. And my mom said, wow, this is nice, very nice. Then she said, all these cars will go away tomorrow. They did not go tomorrow. They were all for the owners of this place. So this had 3 stories, and each of the stories has two apartments, and each of the apartments has 2 people. With both of them have a car. There were 18 cars right there on the street all the time. So anyway, this is Vyavaharya. You can build a space, you can reduce the space, you can increase. Space is avyavaharya. You cannot give it away, you cannot grasp it. And so the Atma is avyavaharya. And it's just that you never think about the fact that I'm always there. I was there before, I will be always there, I'm always there. I don't even think about it. I don't ask that question. Swami Vishwanji gave this beautiful example. There was a boy, there's a man who was trying to do something in his business, and he was very unsuccessful. And he was trying very hard and so on and so forth. And couldn't do it, couldn't figure out. He was very frustrated. So one day he approached his father and said, I have some advice for you. You manage a lot of people. Do you know of someone who has accomplished what I am trying to accomplish? So the father said, yes, I know someone. He says, really? Tell me about that person. He says, in fact, I taught him how to do this. He says, what? You taught him how to be successful, and I am your son? So his father said, you never asked me. This person had asked me. So this is exactly our situation. We have no idea who we are until we ask and inquire. And then you see the enormity. My goodness. I am the very Shiva. And I am looking for Shiva. Looking for Shiva. So here it's interesting. It's there's a Swami Maheshanji makes this point. He says, there is a There's an interesting, in Sanskrit language, there is an inversion of things that happens. Like, for example, himsa. Himsa means a great injury, killing. It's called himsa. Then there is a word called simha, which is the lion, called simha. So simha and himsa are very related. And in fact, Swami Maheshanji said, this simha, which is a lion, is so capable of doing himsa that everybody is afraid of it. In fact, his nature is himsa. Bhagwan has made him himsa. He is supposed to just be the king of the whole forest. There's no one who can escape it. Therefore, the word Shiva. And the opposite of Shiva is called Vashihi. So from Vashi, she becomes Shiva. It can be looked at that way. The meaning of Vashihi, Atyanta Sundara, extremely beautiful, is called Vashihi. So Maheshanji gives this example. He says, sometimes you see someone who is good looking and you say, wow, wonderful, you're a nice looking person and so on. He says occasionally you see someone who is so beautiful, so good looking that you don't want to keep your eyes away from that person. When you look around, you say, well, let me see that again. For some, not just a person, it could be some scenery. Shivaha, the word Shivaha has many different meanings. One of them is purity, one of them is peace, but one of them is beauty. Shivam Sundaram. And the Atma has a beauty that one should know, get to know. Why? Because whenever I look at myself, I'm looking at myself as surrounded by my personality. I don't see the purity of myself. If I were to be taught to look at myself without the surrounding things, just like the space, it is Shiva. And in this aspect of it, it is Atyanta Sundara. I mean, Swatasiddhatvam. How can you not appreciate the beauty of that? So that also is given in here. I'm running out of time, so I won't go through the entire verse. We will do that again. Amatraha chaturtha avyavaharyaha. This prapancha upashamaha and advaitaha are two very beautiful words that we will do next time. And then Shivaha, I just introduced that as part of that. Evam Omkaraha Atma Eva Samvishati Atmana Atmanam Ya Evam Veda. So we will complete it next time. So here, what is then the result of all this is that Omkara becomes my name. And not just your name. In fact, it is the name of Ishvara. And name of Ishvara as yourself. None other than yourself. that separation of yourself and Ishvara limits Ishvara. We are protecting ourselves and saying, I am different. That also has to be submitted. We will go into all of that next time. So this is how the Upanishad will end. So we will, after the 12, after the next week, I think, then we will be all done with the 12 verses of Mandukya, and then we will begin Gaudapada's commentary, which will of course be just ending soon on the first part, which is called Agama Prakaranam. And then the other 3 Prakaranams we will study for a much longer time. That we will do from next time. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitah Brahmana Santu Nirmaya Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So time for questions if anybody has any.